What was it like being in those places in 1978 in Syria and Afghanistan?
Yeah, well, I mean, I speak to Afghanistan first. Afghanistan was like, it was completely, I mean, that phrase mind blowing. It was, for me, it really was mind blowing. Even though I've been through all these other countries, I mean, I was there on the night of the Russian invasion. So this was before the Russian invasion, and a lot of the country was really, it was still like medieval life, meaning there was no telegraph poles, there were no electric wires, there were very few cars, there were very few trucks. So I was able to be in parts of the country, you know, there's mud houses, and approaching even Herat, which is a huge, you know, it's the second city, no industry, nothing, just, you know, suddenly seeing a few green fields, irrigated fields, and then being in the city. And it was magical, actually. It was magical. I mean, it felt to me, I felt at that time like I was Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit, going into this completely other realm of actually different kind of creatures, meaning things were just so different, so different. So Syria wasn't like that, but Syria wasn't as strange, but Syria was still, I mean, it was an Arab country. It was dry, it was semi-desert, in some places real desert, but again, wonderful people. And I got to meet these wonderful university students in Damascus and made great friendships there. So again, was, you know, wonderfully welcomed in Syria.
Okay. And how were the people in Afghanistan that you met? What were their personalities like, and were they open to you? And in Pakistan, you mentioned there was a lot of hospitality. What were the people like in Afghanistan at that time?
Well, an accident of timing, if you will, was, I didn't know it at the time, but they were closing down the country because there was an international educational conference happening in Kabul. And in response, they were closing down the entire country, which meant I tried a few times to get a visa which would be long enough to cycle across Afghanistan, and it kept on not happening. And by the time I finally got into Afghanistan, my visa was good for 4 or 5 days only. And I had this huge country to cycle across. So I actually ended up not having that much time there because of that. And as you'll read in the book, this couple of amazing experiences where I sort of rescued and carried across the country very quickly. So I had less time there. But again, the people were just extraordinarily gracious. You know, the baker, the tea shop owner, inviting me in, as you said earlier, George, refusing payment. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And one of the things that I found fascinating too, you got yourself in a very difficult predicament in Afghanistan where you ran out of water and you were chewing on buttons. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So my grandfather served in the First World War, and he was an officer in the army, and he I don't know how, the circumstances, I know the story, I don't know how it came about, but he somehow led a group of Indian soldiers through the mountains in Iraq. And he told me the story of being out of water and this trick that they had in the army, which is you tear a button off your uniform and you would chew on the button as a way of generating saliva, I guess, and that would help get rid of your thirst. So I was cycling it really in the wilds of Afghanistan, on the part of the map where it showed no settlement, nothing for like 100+ miles. And I hadn't fully filled up my water bottles. And it was late at night one night, and I had run out of water and hadn't drunk water for the day. It's hot. And I didn't know what was going to happen to me. So I took a button off my shirt and I tried chewing it to see if that would work. And it kind of worked, but it didn't really work. It didn't help.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you have to read the book to find out what happened.
Yeah.
But obviously I didn't die from thirst because I'm here talking to you.
Right.